I would never use anything but a well-brought-up chook. And I'm here in the Barossa, and am I going to use anything other than my daughter Sassy's Barossa chook? No. A well-brought-up chook means it's free range, so they've had to have a good diet, and that chook is able to gobble around, picking up things from the ground. That's what you need in a chook. The chook has to come out to room temperature before you cook. If not, what's going to happen is your cooking time is going to be very different because it's going to be chilled right to the bone. One thing that's so important, always tuck your wings behind. If you have your wing tucked here, then it never cooks here. So tuck it behind, and that's whether you're cooking a chook, a quail, or anything else. Now, I can't help but use a bit of rosemary. For me, I think rosemary is my favourite herb because I can use it in almost anything. It just has so much to add, and even just sticking it into the cavity, as simply as that, really will permeate. I always put a good squeeze of lemon in the cavity. And once again, that flavour does permeate, and I'll leave it in as well, okay? Now, a bird has got to be massaged. So we've got some extra virgin olive oil, Australian please. I won't cook with anything else but extra virgin olive oil. Sea salt. Okay, so this is where I do the big massage thing. The sea salt helps the caramelisation, and it's really important to flavour. Now it's time to get the chook into the oven. It's really important to me to put it on a trivet. Now, a trivet is merely like a cake stand to just raise it from the bottom because you're going to put the garlic in and you're going to put some verjuice and water in later. I'm going to cook at 200 degrees, and that's a fairly high temperature. If you're going to use a fairly high temperature or a high temperature, don't put it in a deep dish. If you put it in a deep roasting dish, all your heat has to sort of bounce over the sides.
Is there any particular reason why you haven't tied the legs?
If the legs are a little bit splayed in the most unladylike manner, then they'll get that extra cooking time without separating the leg from the breast. And because the breast, this deep breast, needs some protection, that first 40 minutes, I'm going to just cover the breast and put it into the oven just like that.
Maggie, how do you determine the cooking time of the chicken?
For me, I guess it's experience. So for this 1.9 chook, I'm going to cook it for probably 60 minutes in oil, 40 minutes at the beginning, and then another 20 minutes, and then about a 40-minute resting period. Now, I'm also going to use beautiful Australian garlic. I'm not even peeling it because I want my guests to also use their hands when it comes to food. And so the idea is that they'll squeeze these out and you'll get that lovely buttery flavour. I'm going to blanch these garlic for 3 minutes, and that will just start that cooking process so when they go in at that secondary part of the roasted chook, they won't be totally raw. They've begun their cooking process. And remember, I want them to be really creamy when they're finished. Okay, we've had 3 minutes of garlic being blanched, so let's just strain it off and we'll just leave those to cool. Okay, this has had the first 40 minutes in the oven. This is where I have protected the breast. I now put in the blanched garlic in the base, water in the bottom. Now the water in the bottom, can you remember why?
Stop it from burning?
Stop it from burning, because I'm now going to add just a tiny little bit more extra virgin olive oil, because remember this breast that was previously massaged has been protected. Tiny bit more salt, and then the secret weapon is the verjuice that's going to go all over the bird, and that will heighten the flavour of the bird enormously. Now I'm going to protect his little legs, or her little legs, I didn't ask. And we're going to put this back in, still at the 200 degrees, for 20 more minutes, and then do the long resting period. So, breast away.
When we return,
The breast is the part that you most need to protect.
Maggie finishes off her first dish, and it's an absolute winner.
The chicken is as moist as it looks. It's just melt in the mouth.
So we're getting back to basics today with our beautiful roast chook. It's in the oven. In the meantime, we're going to prepare some parsnip mash with some fresh pear. And I think, Cleo, you should come and do the work. Parsnips are... people either love or hate, and everyone should love them. And the way you're going to prepare them, first of all, we have to peel them and we have to cut them up. And you can tell they're fresh because they're quite white. If they're withered or really a deeper yellow colour, you know they've been out of the ground a long time. So, do you want to go ahead and peel them? Now, can I ask you, if we're cooking a root vegetable, do we cook it in cold or hot water?
Cold.
This little rule of thumb about anything from under the ground, you put cold water in. It's just that the vegetables are more dense. If it went into boiling water, the outside would cook and the inside wouldn't. So, cold water in to the boil, and ice salt straight away.
Right.
These have been cooking for about 10 minutes, so we're going to moulie this. Do you want to prepare the pears while I moulie? It's an inexpensive gadget, but it's really fantastic. Of course, you can use a masher, but a moulie will take out any fibrous bits, and so I just use a moulie out of habit, really. Okay, thank you. There are many jobs in the kitchen that are team. Okay, push it all in. Okay, having done this preparation, now you've got your pear, but we need that cartouche on because we've got to keep all the oxygen out. Cleo, you're free. You can go and sit down. Thank you for your help, because the chook will be ready to take out of the oven. There is my roast chook. Now, the next and really important part is resting the chook. I'm going to turn it over. It has to rest upside down. For a chook this size, I prefer to rest it for 40 minutes. I just want to take the garlic out and the juices out.
Is there a reason why you rest it upside down?
I rest it upside down so the juices can flow back in and keep the breast moist. The breast is the part that you most need to protect, and so as it rests, the juices come back into the bird. Wait till you try this local garlic. When you squeeze it out, it's soft and buttery, and see, creamy as. The flavour is so good. So I'll put them back on the tray and just loosely covered with foil. And I say loosely because I know it's cooked. The resting period will finish off that cooking and it will keep warm for up to an hour. But certainly the 40 minutes that I'm suggesting as perfection, it's still really warm and absolutely beautiful. Okay, I warm my parsnip up by first melting some butter in the bottom of the pan. And of course, the amount of butter depends on your love of butter. For this amount of parsnip, I'm going to put half of those pieces of pear and just move them around. Now, the pear is cold, the parsnip is hot. And the great thing about that is as you bite into it, as you eat, you get that explosion of ripe pear in your mouth. So we'll just put that in a small serving dish. Now it's time to plate up. I'll put the chook, well rested. I'll put the garlic cloves around the base of the chook. Just those last juices from the chook. Just moistening the bird again. Now I get to carve. See how juicy this is. A bit of the thigh. We must have some of these beautiful garlics. I'll take this leg off. See, it's shiny, it's moist. The pear and parsnip mash. Just a few of the juices. It's not a sauce. And there you have a chook that I hope will absolutely delight you. Are you ready to taste? Come on. Now you have to taste a bit of thigh and a bit of breast, the parsnip, and squeeze the garlic. Everyone's so polite. At my family, they just bog in.
The chicken is as moist as it looks. It's just melt in the mouth.
And the pear, the sweetness through that parsnip, but it's so subtle. It's just perfect.
It's that surprise.
And you get that little pop.
The breast is my least favourite part of the chicken, and that is unbelievably good. That's amazing.
Oh,
Garlic's so sweet. It tastes so different to garlic cooked, and nutty and
so
creamy and buttery. It's just really, really nice.
There's nothing I love more than cooking for people who love to eat.
Feel free.
So, my top 3 tips. First, choose a well-brought-up chook and leave it at room temperature before you cook it. Then it's a case of covering the breast for those first 40 minutes with foil so it doesn't dry out. And when you finish the cooking time, turn it upside down for a long resting period of, say, 40 minutes. So this is a very basic recipe that every Australian, I think, should have in their recipe book. Simple, beautiful, and it's all produce driven.